I think that we can all agree that the sedentary lifestyle of our modern day culture is slowly killing us. But there's this one ancient, forgotten, primal method to being really healthy that could be the antidote to all of our current ailments. It's called being outside more. Okay. All jokes aside, I recently had an experience that was so profound and powerful that I had to share it with you. I literally watched a good friend of mine go from severely depressed, spending every waking hour on the computer for many years, basically since the beginning of the lockdowns in 2020, transform into an in shape, happy, and excited human being just by having him do exactly what is going to follow in this video. So, here's a guide or framework you can use to ensure that you're getting enough time outside to potentially change your life as well. The same guide I use every day with people I coach. And along the way, we'll talk about all the reasons why this works so well. It can literally transform you from the inside out. And if this is already a natural flow for you, I'd still give it a listen so you can have informed conversation with your friends and loved ones that may need a little encouragement like my friend did. And as you're watching this, if you have anything else that you would add to this list, comment it below. You could really help someone out who needs it. Okay, let's get to it. Number 1, spend 30 minutes every day walking outside. There's heaps of evidence that shows that 20 minutes outside per day has huge health benefits, both physiologically and psychologically. But I think we can do better than 20. And it's really not that hard when you break it down, which we'll get into in a sec. But first off, it's not just about getting outside. It's about disconnecting. So we're only counting time walking outside with no phone, no headphones, nothing. Here's the importance. Your mind can have a narrow or broad focus. Narrow focus is when you're doing a task that consumes your mind. Your mind has no space to ponder or wander. So this is productive time, like crushing the keyboard at work, doing your taxes, or reading a textbook. The problem is, obviously, our minds get fatigued from this and they need a break. In the past, to recover from this, we would naturally do things with a broad focus, like go for a walk, have a leisurely conversation with a friend, or just sit down and think. But now we fill it with consumption of stimulating content. Social media, video games, YouTube, podcasts, all at our fingertips. And although it feels like your mind is getting a break, it's still narrowly focused on something. What our minds need is space. Space to work through what's happened in the last couple hours or days, or make sense of things like our relationships or our place in the world. And this is happening both consciously and somewhere in the background. And if you don't give your mind these broad focus breaks, your mind will become cluttered and your stress levels will rise. So with this in mind, I think it's a pretty easy sell to intentionally get going outside and disconnecting more often. And walking is an easy choice. Our minds literally think clearer and more creatively while we're walking. Famously, philosophers in Rome would stroll about the city deep in thought and even attach ideas to locations in the city, hence the term in the first place. They meant it literally. Now, 30 minutes out of your day can seem like a lot, especially if you're busy, but that's why we have to have a plan. In my opinion, the best way to do this is 10 minutes in the morning within an hour of waking up, 10 minutes after lunch, and 10 minutes sometime in the evening. Here's why. The morning is crucial. Our circadian rhythm is inextricably linked to the sun. So getting outside in the morning, getting our skin and our eyes exposed to that natural light will actually help you fall asleep quicker and more restfully in the evening. Right after lunch is a really important one to avoid that natural lull in energy after you eat. And it's actually even been shown to aid in digestion. And a walk in the evening to decompress from a long day instead of plopping in front of the TV with that narrow focus will undoubtedly help you wind down. And even better, go out with the whole family. Now you're getting quality connection time stacked with exercise and nature time. It's an easy choice. Now I already hear you northerners saying, oh, but it's cold in the winter. Hey, listen, I get it. But that's the power of the 10-minute walk. In 10 minutes, the cold isn't gonna sink into your bones. Just throw on some snow boots and a parka. Trust me, you'll be okay. Nowadays, there's a whole section of the health industry making millions of dollars just off exposing people to cold more often. So 30 minutes walking a day, 3 10s, or break it out however you want. I've had some seriously busy people fit this into their schedule and they're happy they did, because what you get back is far more valuable than the 30 minutes you spent. Number 2, 1 day per week, spend at least 1 hour outside unbroken. Ideally, this is something physical, like going for a 3-mile hike or going and hanging out or working out at a park. You get the idea. The importance here is the unbroken exposure. The longer we go without a break from that narrow focus, the longer it takes to clear the mind again on the other side. So once a week, the goal should be to fully cleanse the mind, like a reset button. Let nature do its work and just be in the moment. Thoughts of stressful work tasks or financials or stressful relationships can start to feel a little bit lighter. And study after study shows that people who spend more time outside are more likely to have better sleep, eyesight, immune function, or life satisfaction, and are less likely to experience stress, anxiety, obesity, high blood pressure, depression, and overall mortality. And these studies confirm it can simply be a park in a city. It doesn't have to be some hike through serene wilderness. So simply throw it on your schedule. Weekends are a great time for this. Number 3, once per quarter, spend a large portion of your day outside, a minimum of 5 hours. This is where we truly start to feel a sense of freedom from the burdens of the inside world, both literally and figuratively. It could look like going to the beach or a river, taking an adventurous hike with lots of cool stops like lookout spots, rivers, or picnic areas. Think 5 or more miles here. Outdoor hobbies like biking, boarding of any kind, climbing, even just playing games in the park with friends. The hallmark here is it's long enough to need to pack a lunch. That's how you know you did it right. What you'll notice when you spend 5 or more hours outside is a sense of calm and ease. You'll feel light, maybe even playful. A sense of adventure is something that I think we all crave, but it's the first thing to get chopped off in a busy schedule. So what we're after is that sense of adventure, which makes this distinct from going to events like sports or parties that happen to take place outside. These should be unstructured excursions into nature with a focus on moving and connecting. This is your chance to really immerse yourself in nature. Our senses are craving this. Think about it like this. One of the reasons we all love going to the beach is because they are like sensory atomic bombs. We take off our clothes, exposing our skin to the wind and the sand and the sun and water. Our eyes finally get to relax and stare off into the nothingness of a horizon. Our ears are overwhelmed with the naturally soothing sound of waves. We'll even sit down on the ground or play games, giving our bodies nourishing, natural movement. So when you're out there, try to really experience what nature has to offer. But to be fair, this is where I'll start to accept that cold weather excuse. 5 hours is a long time if it's below freezing. So what you may need to do is get more of these in when there's fairer weather. 1 in March or April, 2 sometime between May and September, and then squeeze another one in October or November. Easy enough. The 4th and final guideline is once per year, spend 2 whole entire days in a row outside. This is camping or backpacking, not staying in a cabin with Wi-Fi. If this sounds intimidating to you, then you're exactly who needs this. Camping doesn't have a big barrier to entry. Camping equipment doesn't have to be a big investment, especially if you utilize secondhand stores for things like tents, pads, and coolers. And once you have the equipment, it can nearly be free. You might pay a camping fee, but if you get nifty, you can look for dispersed camping sites and literally camp for free. I was lucky enough to grow up camping, but I lost interest in it once I discovered girls and video games and parties, you know, teen and young adult stuff. Rediscovering camping in my mid-20s potentially saved my life. I finally found a sense of wonder and ease in a life that felt confined and stressful. And many people I talk to say the same thing. There's something indescribably important about spending multiple days in nature at a time. There's the journey of getting there, the care of setting up camp, the quiet that really isn't so quiet. It's filled with natural sounds instead of cars and people. And the reminder that dirt isn't dirty. The humility of being back in the food chain, looking up at the stars, and the list goes on. And if you've never been backpacking, walking out into the wilderness with everything you need strapped to your body, it's the absolute next level. I hope that everyone has an opportunity to backpack at some point in their life. Okay, so those are the 4 guidelines. Number 1, spend 30 minutes outside a day walking. Number 2, spend an hour once per week unbroken outside. Number 3, once per quarter, spend 5 or more hours outside. And once a year, spend 2 full days outside. Now, if you made it this far in the video, you're probably thinking, yo, what am I doing? I need to get outside. And I agree. But before you go, let me give you one more piece of advice. As often as you can, do all of this getting outside with friends and family. If you haven't read Johann Harari's book, Lost Connections, I'd highly recommend it. In the book, he outlines how our mental health crisis stems from being disconnected. Disconnected from others, disconnected from ourselves, and disconnected to nature. So going outside with your loved ones checks all 3 of those boxes, making sure that you stay healthy up here and in here. Guys, if you like this video, please let me know in the comment section. We'd like to make more videos like this that don't necessarily fit on the strength side channel, but we still think have a lot of value. So let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.